What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the third episode of the Star Podcast. Got my man, Coach Marvin Bure, one of the best young analysts in the country out of UNLV, specifically the defensive side of the ball. This guy knows how to identify talent nationwide, and they have a great thing rolling over there at UNLV. So super blessed to have you in, Coach Bure, and appreciate you being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to jump right into it, man, because I want to make this super valuable, and I want to get these guys who are listening some extremely good recruiting advice because, look, man, it's a crazy world in 2026, and parents, athletes, all the kids I work with, a lot of times they have no idea where to start or what to do. So I just have a bunch of questions that I want to roll through just to help, bring some clarity to the process, see what you guys have going on at UNLV. Obviously, a big school, big program who's going to take recruiting super serious. Starting off with question number one. This is kind of an open-ended question, but what are three things you see on tape that make a high school football player recruitable?
Of course, you see position dominance. So when you see those type of things, like can that quarterback dominate at that level? Can he win? So that's one thing Coach Mullen loves to look at with quarterbacks with winning. At defensive backs, can you finish the play? Can you dominate at your position? Of course. Then athleticism, because you don't play probably with just one position in high school. Can you, as a DB, can you dominate on the offensive side of the ball with the ball in your hands? Can you dominate in special team? Things like that we look at in force, things like that. Then, of course, we can see it on film. Do you love the game of football? With your celebrations or the plays that you make and things like that, like you've been there before and all those type of things. Of course, those are the three things. Athleticism, can you dominate your position? Or do you love the game of football? We can see that through the tape as well.
Gotcha. That's super important for you guys is looking at multiple positions. So if you love a DB, you want to see him dominate wide receiver. You want to see him go, on kickoff and go down and make a play. How important is that for you guys at UNLV?
One thing we look at, of course, with dominating your position, the next thing we're going to, can he run down on kickoff? Let's see, do he have kickoff clips? Let's see, can he return a punt? Let's see, can they do other things besides that position as well? Can he go on the other side of the ball? And basically, can you help the team be a good teammate? That's all we just looking for as well. Overall, can you be a good teammate and help the team in other positions? Because in high school football, even with the lower level football and all those type of things, you might have to do other things and just dominate your one side of position.
Gotcha. Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's something that's super slept on these days. Everyone wants to be a great wide receiver, and they don't focus on the other side of the ball. I always look at it like this. When you have two kids, because, as someone who evaluates a lot of tape being in your position, a lot of the times you see kids who are very similar. Obviously, geographics matter in terms of if you have two similar wide receivers. But, if they're the same size, same height, same weight, they got good ball skills. What is the difference-making factor? Can he play DB? Can he play DB at a high level? Does he return kicks? Does he, is he doing things to make himself more marketable, as an athlete? I think that's something that's super slept on, especially in today's game, because kids, they see all these pictures online or whatever, and they just want to go dominate at one single position. I always preach kids, man, hey, be an athlete, man. Be able to dominate at every single position. That's just going to help you in the long run. So it's super refreshing to be able to hear that coming from, such a high-level evaluator as yourself.
Yes.
Cool. Let's roll into question number two. So what is the biggest mistake you think that high school football players make in the recruiting process?
Don't have the updated information, especially on their X profile, things like that. So we actually try to look into those type of things and being around different programs, going to camps that matter. Like I said, being around different programs, understanding their coaching staff, going to camps, and just understanding that process as far as having the correct information when you go to camps and all those type of things. Don't list that you're 6'5" when we know that you're 6'1". So those type of things that have your profile updated, constantly reach out to coaches and all those type of things, and don't feel like you're bothering anybody. You marketing yourself, constantly reach out. So that's the thing that I would say that they mess up on, that they're like, this coach don't recognize me. That coach probably was busy that day. He probably was busy that week. So follow back up on that message that you sent him the week prior or the month prior and things like that. Now he probably sees that message.
Man, you dropped some gems in there, man. You've dropped something that I want to kind of loop back on, especially in today's world. This is something we run into a lot. So you have this kind of phenomenon called like your Twitter height and your Twitter weight. So you're pretty much always standardly going to have a high school kid probably giving himself another 2 inches on his Twitter. So what
Rightfully
does
so, right?
you
trying to market yourself.
Yes, that's how it is, man. But like, how big of a mistake can that be for some recruits and something that you've seen in your own personal experience where maybe a kid is 6'1". He's marketing himself at 6'3", and you're like, man, this kid can play, and you get him on campus. He might even be a guy where you're ready to offer him, but he gets on campus and he's 6'1". How big of a mistake is that for him? Like what do you think about that as a coach? What would your best recommendation be on X? Because obviously these kids do want to get themselves marketed, and I just think that it's something that it's a lie that they're telling themselves, like, oh, I have to, lie about my weight and height to get recruited. But I'm always like, look, at the end of the day, coaches, if they're going to be interested, they're going to recruit you. And at the end of the day as well, they're going to find it out. They're going to find out if you're not 6'3". They're going to find out if you're not, 280. You're really 250. So from your perspective, what is that like? Have you ever seen situations where that's kind of manifested?
Yeah, so we get into those type of situations. Like I said, not to cut you off, we understand that you're trying to market yourself as well. So if we're really interested, we're gonna do an all out measure to figure out if you really 6'5". We're gonna do all our measure to figure out if you really 180. Do you run a 20 point whatever in the 200? So we're gonna do all our measurements to find out that information. Of course, when you come on campus, we're gonna do our own thing as well. So we'll reach out to other coaches that we have connections with. Like say we got a connection with University of North Carolina, and you go to North Carolina for a camp. So we're gonna call a coach over there that we probably know that, hey, this is a verified measurement and things like that for this guy, this player. So we do realize that, and I'm not saying that can hurt, but that we do look side eye like, hi, this guy wasn't 6'4" coming in, so let's try to manage him a little bit. And we want to understand that you want to be honest on the front end, because now we can navigate. Let's say you're 6'1" and you put on 6'4" on your profile. We can navigate that now. Like, hey, this guy's pretty good, but he's 6'1", so now we can take that to the head coach. Like, coach, he's still pretty good at 6'1", instead of, hey, you coming in, coach thinking you're 6'4", now you looking at 6'1". Now it can be a negative impact.
Gotcha. So kind of building off of that, this might be a question for later, but there are some tools out there that, some players think that they need to be a part of or that they have to have. Are there any tools that you use consistently in terms of verified metrics, in terms of verified track times that are like, your gospel truth in terms of getting a verified time that you really trust as a Division I recruiter?
Yeah, so of course, I was on a high school football staff in Houston, Texas. So I coached on track as well. So we use mile split, we use things like that, and go verify those times, especially in track and all those type of things. But with that being said, when they verify those times, that we want to make sure they're correct and things like that, and we constantly update it with the athletes. Like I'm constantly updating with the athlete that, hey, how was your track meet today? What time did you run it? And we're not looking for, if you ran a bad time, that it's going to hurt your recruiting process because something might have happened. We just want to make sure that you're out there competing as well. So that's the main factor when we look at athletes in different sports. Are you still competing? Do you still have that competitive factor about you?
Gotcha. How important are track times for skill positions?
It's important. It's very important, but we also look at on the field because we understand that's different. Football speed at the game level is different than track time, but that track speed kills. You can't teach speed. I was a speed guy coming out of coaching. That's how I got my start being a speed guy, because speed kills, so you just can't teach that. So we do look at that as a big factor. If you got electric speed, we definitely gonna take a look into you. So that's definitely a big factor for us.
Gotcha. No, that's super important too, because I know some programs are like, man, I'm not recruiting a kid if he's not running this. And I understand, I get it. You want speed, but at the end of the day, I think that, there are guys out there who might not be the best speed guys, but are fantastic skill players. So super important
Right.
that you said that. And I appreciate that. I'm sure that the audience is going to appreciate that too, because I have so many kids who are like, they don't think they're going to go Division I because they can't, pop up a 4.4 in today's world. And you turn on the social media, and you're only seeing, combine time, seeing these big dudes run 4.4s and all that stuff. So it's like, is this even attainable for a lot of high school players? The answer is probably not, but that doesn't mean that you can't make it far and can't get offers in the process.
Right, and I can tell you this: 4.6 and 7 in high school is pretty fast for your that time span. So if you're running a 4.3, 4.4 at a high school athlete, you're in a different stratosphere. So 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, that's really in that range. So I wouldn't say that's a negative impact on any athlete that they say, especially a wide receiver or defensive back and things like that. So now we're gonna figure out how can we get you faster.
Hmm.
But people don't realize 4.5 is pretty fast.
Right, man. That's what the next level is for, man. That's where that speed comes from at the next level. All
Yes.
right, moving on to my next question. How young does the recruiting process start for you at UNLV?
It started pretty young, so as soon as you get into high school, and we get that off recommendations like yourself from different coaches, the coaches in high school and things like that. So we visit a coach, they'll be like, hey, we got this young athlete coming up. You might need to take a look at it. We'll look at that young athlete. So we really get our recommendations, and X does wonders. It's a gift and a curse with X. So of course, like I always say, you can market yourself on that. So constantly message a coach. No, we can't message you back until your time is coming up, but constantly message the coach. The coach can see it and like get intrigued about what you posted and all those type of things. But through communication, through connection pieces, through your coaches, that's really the big thing. That get around your coaches, get around your recruiters, and all those type of things that can help you out, that get your name out there as well.
For sure. And so you're talking about XDMs. I kind of want to build off of that for a second. So if I'm a young kid and I don't have any help, like who should I be DMing on X? Should I be DMing positional coaches? Should I be DMing the head coach? Should I be DMing recruiting analysts? Should I be DMing, director of player personnel? Who's the best person to get a hold of, or should I just DM everybody?
I would say spam everybody. Because let's say I don't see it, another coach probably sees it. Now I said with this, don't just stop at that one message. If the coach doesn't see it, send another message again the following month or following week of things. Because that coach might have been busy or might have been in a meeting, probably saw the message, then forgot to get back to it and all those type of things. So constantly reach out to any coach, any personnel member, whoever that you want to market yourself, because in this world, it only takes one person to see this person that to forward your name along to through an email, through a text message, and all those type of things to the correct person that needs to see it.
For sure. Yeah, I love that, man, because a lot of kids think that they're getting slept on, they're being hated on if a coach don't respond to their DM, but they don't understand. I mean, even me, I'm not a coach and I get a ridiculous amount of DMs a day. How many DMs a day do you think that you get on X? How packed is your inbox?
So when I first got in this role, I had to turn my notifications off, put it like that. So it's numerous. So you see a bunch of messages coming through. That's why I always constantly say if I walk up to an athlete or go on campus or go to coach the high school campus or anything like that, I always say don't get tired of sending that message because we probably didn't see it the first time. It probably got mixed up in all the other messages as well. And what I do, I try to go through all my messages. Now it's
Mhm.
hard. I'm not gonna say it's not hard, but you honestly try to go through all your message because you don't want to leave no stone unturned. You don't want to turn around an athlete that is pretty good, that can be pretty good out in the Midwest that we didn't see it initially and things like that. So we want to make sure that we try to turn all stones around and all those type of things for UNLV. But we get numerous of messages, not just myself, but every coach that you could probably show you their phone that's like, hey, just look at this and just probably just scroll down and you see numerous of messages and all those type of things.
So, especially for an athlete who is, they're in high school, they have varsity tape, they've checked that box. They might even know that they fit the size requirements and they know they're a pretty good player. Like how many times can they DM you before it starts to get annoying?
I always say don't when I initially talk to an athlete, I say don't get tired of ignoring that coach or ignoring that personnel member and things like that because you trying to get to where you're trying to get to. At the end of the day, because of course you want that coach to say no, you want that coach to say yes, but you waiting on that no. I'm never going to turn down an athlete to like I'm gonna give you a no. So that's when they need to calm down and all those type of things. But I'm never gonna tell an athlete to stop messaging me. I'm never gonna tell an athlete to just slow down anything unless we just tell you, hey, we just not gonna recruit you anymore. We're going in a different direction. So I wouldn't tell them to stop because unless you know what school that you're going to, you're committed and all those type of things because you constantly market yourself every day in this world, every day in this, especially with the transfer portal, even when you get into school. So constantly market yourself, constantly reach out to coaches and all those type of things that you're trying to market yourself to get to the place that you're trying to get to.
Gotcha. So I see a ton of videos on social media of people trying to, I guess, promote a specific message that works the best, that you should be DMing a Division One coach to get more reads or to get more impressions or whatever that case may be. So what would your best structure be for a DM? Is it super simple? Is it, you want more information? Is it less information to start and then more information as you build? What does that look like for you? Being a Division One scout, what's the ideal first message that you get from a player that's really going to help you jumpstart the process?
They really be like they're interested in our program. They reach out, of course, tell you measurements. Hey, I'm such and such. I'm 6'2", 180. I run track. This is my track times. I go to this high school. This is my high school coach. So just give us the cliff notes of yourself. You don't gotta give up the whole profile because if we're interested in you, we're gonna find out the whole profile through your high school teachers, through your coaches, through your family members, through everybody that we need to find out information to from. constantly just give out your cliff notes of yourself. Give the highlights of yourself. Do not just give out a lot of information because we're gonna find that information as well. Do not forget to give your cliff notes, your highlights of yourself, because that's really set you apart. Like, oh, this kid in the 200 run a 21.06. So now I'm intrigued a little bit more instead of just, hey, my name is John Doe. I go to this high school. Check out my film. We get that a lot. Really set yourself apart by saying, hey, I do this. I'm in the National Honor Society, or not just saying football, things off the field as well that can measure yourself, that you can be different for other athletes.
Yeah, so being a guy who watches a ton of film, you want it super straightforward, just the basic information. And is it a myth that a specific message is going to work better than the other if it has the right information in it?
No, it's not a myth. Like I said, it definitely helps if you, let's say, you put your track time in the 100 meters that you got you ran a 10.6. So we're going to be intrigued to probably click on your film a little bit faster. Like, oh, I remember that name going back 2 months ago that he messaged me that he ran this time. So let me go and see. Let me go back to my old notes that he messaged me 3 months ago that, hey, that he mentions that he ran a 10.6 in 100, things like that. So yes, put your cliff notes, put your highlights of yourself. Hey, I got 3,000 yards as passing. Cool. Now there's a measuring piece against anybody else that's not telling. Now we got to go find the information from anybody else. So if you already put your information inside the message, now that's one step closer to us finding out about you, us understanding about you, us just knowing about you as well.
For sure. So once you've gotten discovered, once you got, you're clicking on this kid's film, once he's got the message down, how many seconds into the highlight tape or how many plays does it take for you to know whether this kid has a shot or doesn't?
Oh, in the first 30 seconds. We really try to tell the athletes put your best highlights in the beginning, because a coach will turn off the film if you making routine plays, because you're supposed to make those plays. You're
Mhm.
supposed to make a catch across the middle if you're a wide receiver. You're supposed to make a touchdown if you're a running back. You're supposed to throw touchdowns if you're a quarterback. You're supposed to make tackles if you're a linebacker and things like that. So uh, those within 30 seconds, we know if you're a good athlete. Now, if we're really intrigued by it, we'll start going watching your game film, all those type of things. So within 30 seconds, we know. So then we always try to tell athletes, put your best highlights in the beginning, because now we get intrigued, especially the first clip. Like, oh, this guy knocked somebody's heads off. I'm more intrigued to see what else they got in their film now. So we definitely get intrigued about your first 30 seconds.
Gotcha. Cool. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. How important are recruiting questionnaires in the recruiting process?
It's very important because it tells us the surface level questions and things like that. So now we know your sibling's name, we know your mom name, we know your measurements, we know your high school, we know your coach, we know who's big in your recruiting life. So it's basically just the surface level of the athlete. So now when we call the athlete, we got this, and we got a talking piece, and we don't just got to ask questions in the beginning and things like that. So we can really start the relationship piece with that athlete as well, because we already got those surface level notes that we need to talk to that athlete as well.
So, if an athlete is trying to get discovered by UNLV, is the recruiting questionnaire a viable way to get discovered by UNLV, or is that all typically coming through XDMs?
Yeah, it really come through XDMs, but we do use our questionnaire DMs, especially with camp time and things. So we got, like we was talking about an athlete this earlier in January. We went back to notes last year that we got from the questionnaires, things like that we get it from the recruiting department. So those questionnaire does matter, especially if we trying to bring you on campus, because now we know about you a little bit. We can set up that visit for you a little bit that pertains to you and your family.
Gotcha. All right. So, in terms of obviously in 2026, the transfer portal has never been more popping than it is now. For UNLV, how many high school football players are you recruiting each class compared to the transfer portal?
Well, as far as high school, we really want to build on high school level. We really try to build a football team. What I mean by that, put 11 guys on the offense, 11 guys on defense, and our specialists. So we try to build through the high school ranks, and we try to pick and choose on immediate needs through the transfer portal. So if you look at UNLV, we weren't too heavy in the transfer portal like the year prior, because we didn't have the year prior, we didn't have anybody in our roster were kind of gutted. So we had to go fill out a team. So this past year we didn't get too many transfers, because those we already had the guys in stable. We already created that culture that guys don't want to stay. So we just got grabbed immediate needs that probably another athlete that left the program, that we wanted to expecting to lead the program in the transfer portal, or that we need to close the gap on young guys compared to older guys as well.
Gotcha. So, how important for UNLV are visits, getting on campus, and camps?
It's very important. You'll get guys that coming from different programs, especially through the transfer portal, that say, "Hey, this facility is great. Like, we don't have this at whatever college campus that they came from, whatever university that they came from." So we really try to get guys on campus, get the players on campus, because everybody understands what Vegas entails. But once you come on our campus, once you feel the genuine in our building, once you walk through those doors, all we got to say, just come through our doors, you'll feel the genuine coming out of our building. It is not manufactured. So we really try to get guys on campus come check us out to see, come to practice, come see what we're doing, because you'll feel that warmth. Because Coach Mother was in the South for a long time, so he has his Southern hospitality rolling through that building a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of coaches, a lot of kids, a lot of families might be under the impression that they're going to come to camp, they're not going to get noticed. They think that a lot of camps are a scam, quite frankly. So what would you say to that, and how important are camps for your process at UNLV?
It's very important because now we get that measurement up front. We get to see the athlete perform live. Now, let's say we recruit an athlete, we still want to see them in camp, because now you get to come to camp with other athletes and compete. We want to see, can you compete with another a quarterback that we were already recruiting and all those type of things. So can you compete with another wide receiver, with another DB, and see how you look in person when the coach is looking at you? Do you shy under the lights, or do you try to perform? So we get to see your natural characteristics. We get to see you in your natural form and all those type of things. So it definitely does matter. But I do say on the camps, things like that, go to the camps that matter to you. Don't go to the camp that's you trying to prove something and all those type of things. Try to go to a camp that matters to you, that you think you can, that fits in your lifestyle, that fits in your academic style as well. Because every camp is not gonna pertain to you. So some guys go to that, because I was in high school. I was a high school coach. I was a high school recruiter as well. Some camps not gonna you're only gonna get 2 reps as your wide receiver. Some wide receivers go be a defensive back and try to get 10 reps now. So all those type of things. So the camp does its wonders if they do it the correct way.
So what do you think the basic best practices would be for high schoolers trying to pick camps, even outside of UNLV?
The interest, if universities are interested and you really want to see you, or really just trying to grab your money. So the interest, so yeah, guys, players reach out to us like, hey, we interested in coming to a camp, or we'll reach out to a player like, hey, we want to see you live. Hey, we came and visit you in January when we came to your campus. Now we want to see, can you come compete in the summer? So things like that. So we throw it out on our social media, but we also want to see guys that we had a relationship with as well. Let's say we recruiting you, even if we offered you, sometimes we want to see you on camp, like I said, see you compete with another quarterback, see you compete with another receiver, and all those type of things.
Gotcha. Cool. So we're going to move into the next segment. It's going to be kind of a rapid fire of 2 segments left. So this next segment, I'm just going to go through, and sorry if it's redundant, if I'm like, what traits are blah, 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 but I'm just going to go through the traits at each position that you would like to see and that you would recruit. So starting off, what traits does a high school linebacker need to be offered by UNLV?
Can you run for the most part? Can you be a good communicator? Because that's more likely you're the main part of the defense. You're the communicator of the defense. You're the quarterback of the defense. Can you run? Can you be physical? Because now you're playing it probably inside the box and all those type of things. Can you play with your hand? Can you defeat blocks? That's one thing that our linebacker coach look for. Can you defeat blocks? So also, can you run? So when I mean by running, are you a former defensive back that played safety? Now, can you come down to the second level and play? All those type of things. Can you cover sideline to sideline? If you can't run, can you be a thumper inside? So one all just don't fit all. So we make sure that we try to cover every stone, because we want to make sure, hey, this linebacker is pretty good, but he can't run, but we got a place for him. So the little things like that.
Gotcha. And I know size matters. What's an ideal linebacker size for you guys?
Above 6 foot, above 6 foot, we'll put the weight on. So we really look 200 plus. So we can definitely put the weight on. We got a great strength staff that if you see them, you like, oh wow. So we'll put the weight on also. Above 6 foot, we really try to get good football players.
Gotcha. All right. What traits does a high school defensive tackle need to be offered by UNLV?
Physical, you getting touched every single play. Like, so you getting double team, you probably getting guards. Like with DBs, you don't get touched every single play. With linebackers, you don't get touched. With defensive tackle, you getting touched every single play. So can you be physical inside and don't shy away from that pressure every single snap? Can you play with heavy hands? That's one thing our defensive line coach look at. Can you play with your hands? Not just beating somebody with athleticism, but beat somebody because you're better than them every single snap. Can you play with good technique inside? And also, can you complement your whole defense? Because every single time you're not gonna make that play. It's not your play to be made. Can you compliment your linebacker? Don't let that offensive guard get up to your linebacker. So things like that we really look at.
And again, we know size matters. So what's your ideal defensive tackle size?
Ooh, with the size, we of course we look up 6'1" plus, but we got guys on the team that's under 6 foot in our defensive line that is pretty good. That's been playing for us. So I don't want to just give you the cliche answer that the size doesn't matter and things like that because we do look at size. But we'll look at guys that's 6'1" plus, but we do got guys that's 6 foot under that plays ball for us.
So the biggest thing with the undersized guys is you got to be a dog. If you're undersized, you have
Right.
zero excuse, man. You got to be just a next level football player.
Right. You got to have some intangibles about yourself. That's exactly what it is.
All right. So what traits does a high school defensive end need to be offered by UNLV?
Can you set the edge? Now this is gonna mean you got to be a little bit more athletic because you got to play on the edge. And for us, that guy play on the edge on the as far as to the fields. Can you set the edge? Can you be athletic enough? Can you run down people and all those type of things? Can you drop a little bit? So little things like that. Can you are you pretty fast? Also, more than less, can you set the edge? Can you be physical with your hands as well as like a defensive tackle? And can you set the edge? There's more things than that. Can you? Of course, the thing is, can you rush the passer? So we always look at that type of things. Of course, for his technique, can you set the edge and all those type of things? Because they're not gonna throw the ball every single snap. So
And as a D1 scout, man, what's your ideal size for defensive end?
the same thing. So we look at the same size. So it's, about 6'1", 6'2" plus. About between with defense ends, you got 240 to 280 things like that before we try to transition you to the three technique and things like that. So we really look for those skilled defense ends that possibly and pass downs that can possibly go to a three technique that can be athletic and dominate in their situations and all those type of.
Gotcha. What traits does a high school cornerback need to be offered by UNLV?
First thing, if you hear Coach Akeem Davis who say he needs to be a dog, because of course you gotta forget a lot of things as a defensive back. You gotta remember a lot of things. You gotta forget a lot of things because you on that island. Everybody sees you. Of course, a linebacker can miss a tackle game, pop a 15-yard game, get them down on the ground. But they see that 30-yard bomb, they're gonna know exactly who that defensive back is. So you gotta be a dog on the outside. Of course, be physical. That's one thing we look at. I know we always look at guys that can cover on the outside. Yeah, that's natural. We're gonna look at can they cover, can they take the ball out the air, can they take away the airspace, but can you be physical on the outside because we like to tackle on defensive backs here at UNLV.
All right, man. I gotta ask, what's your ideal size for corners?
Oh, ideal size. We if you look at our roster, we got different sizes as far as things like that. But with DBs, it's more of a speed thing, so we don't look at size. Cause our starting cornerback last year probably 5'8", but our other starting cornerback was probably 6'1". So it's in between that range. The longer you are, the better it is. But can you run in that position? We know a shorter guy like we talked about it previous time. You got to have some intangibles about yourself. That guy that started at 5'8", he was very physical. He was pretty dog on the outside. So it was hard to take him off the field. So little things like that. So you got to have some intangibles about yourself once you get shorter and shorter.
Gotcha. What traits does a high school safety need to be offered by UNLV?
Can you take the ball out the air? Can you command the defense? Can you communicate? Can you be a good teammate? Everything is not gonna go your way back there. It's gonna be a busted coverage on the outside. Hopefully not. Gonna be a busted coverage on the outside. Do you hold your palms up and throw dime out your teammate? Things like that. But we really look for a good communicator. Can you take the ball out the air? Can you fill the alley? Can you close space and those type of thing? And for us, we look at can you cover as well? We still need somebody that can cover and come down and be physical and play in the box.
Man, I'm so happy you brought that up. Body posture. How important is that for you? If you've seen a kid, you watch his tape, and this kid's good, and you go and turn on the full game tape, how important is that body posture? Because when you turn on the full game tape, obviously not every play is a highlight. So what does that look like for you? How does body posture affect the recruiting process, hustle to the ball, stuff like that?
Body language is a big part of us. That's one thing you'll hear going around the program with body language, especially because you'll tell when a player is down. You'll tell when a player is excited. You can tell when a player is knowing their job. You can tell when a player don't understand what's going on. So their body language lets us know that like, hey, this player is probably confused on the field, or this player is energetic on the field. That like he's having fun on the field. He loves the game of football. Or this player needs some help out there. He's pretty tired or things like that. Or you could tell this player is defeated. It's the end of the game. You lost by 20. You still got to play a couple snaps and things like that. You can tell by your body language. And so those little aspects definitely helps the recruiting process because we can say, hey, even in the midst of sorrow, this guy's still a good teammate. He's still putting good stuff on tape and all those type of things. He's not sucking away. He's helping. He's still being a good communicator. He's still being a good leadership player and all those type of things.
Gotcha. What traits does a high school outside linebacker need to be offered by UNLV? And then a caveat to this question is, what is your outside linebacker position? Is it more of an edge rush? Is it more of a hybrid, or is it more of a nickel?
So it's more of a hybrid. So with our nickels, because you said nickel, with our nickel, that's more of a DB body.
Hmm.
But our outside linebacker more of a hybrid. We'll rush them, we'll drop them, we'll blitz them from different areas and things like that. He'll cover a back out the backfield, but also we need that speed rusher to go get the quarterback on crucial down as well. So he has to be pretty athletic. Can he run in space? He don't need to cover the faster receiver. He don't need to cover the best tight end in the world, but can he get us out that down? Put it like that. So can he run? Can he understand how to get to the quarterback? Can he understand? He has to be smart because he probably have to do different things besides just rushing the passer.
Sure. So you talked about your field defensive end as a big guy.
Yeah.
So what does the size, not requirements, but what is the ideal size for that outside linebacker edge rush position? Obviously, have to be able to drop, have to be able to cover, have to be able to pass rush as well too. So what does that look like for you guys at UNLV?
Of course, we look up 6'1", 6'2", six plus of that. But like I said, we got guys on the roster that's smaller than that. When we look up guys that intangible with the long wingspan, a little bit longer, then that has a little bit extra stuff to themselves. So about 200, 205, 215 plus. But like I said, that's coming out of high school that we understand that, hey, that guy got to get developed in a weight room. So our starters last year at that position were playing at 240, 250, 230.
Gotcha. Well, huge. That's great stuff. So last little segment here. This is kind of got to be rapid fire. I sent you. I don't know. Do you know anything about like the tiers, like the S tier, the A tier, the B tier, the C tier?
I was looking at that and I didn't know too much, so I was gonna ask you about that.
So the S tier is going to be like a better grade than an A. So if I go, here's the recruiting tiers, like here are the most important things in the recruiting process. An S would be the most important, a D would be the least important, and then a simple explanation why. So maybe a simple thing. The first one is, I'm not going to take your. I'll do one that's kind of odd here. So how would you rate GPA? And I go S tier because we're an Ivy League program and GPA matters for you to get into our program. If you don't meet GPA credentials, you cannot come play for us. And then we move on to the next one. National Combines, C tier because blah, 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 blah. Here's how we use it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. So we're going to do the recruiting tiers here, and we're just going to go down the list. So again, we have S, A, B, C, D. So D being the worst, S being the absolute most pinnacle. This is the best piece of whatever to get recruited. So starting off with highlight tapes.
The highlight tapes, you get the A tier because that will start the process for you. That will like get us intrigued about you. Then after the after that, why I didn't give it an S because now after the highlight tape, we go and watch your game film, watch your full game film. So the highlight tape is get us intrigued to get us knowing about you and all those type of things. So I give it to A tier.
So what about game tape?
Game tape, that's an A as well. Game tape, that's A because that really sets you apart. It really sets you apart, understanding like, hey, this is a person, the play goes away. So what does this person do when the play goes away? Do he just loaf or do he shows effort on the backside?
And what about height and weight?
I put it as a B because it does matter. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter. I didn't want to give it A to say this the all be all, and I didn't want to give it the S. It's like, hey, this everything that matters to us because I told you early in our conversation that sometimes we have players that less than the standard that we were looking for. So I'll give it a B.
Gotcha. 40-yard dash.
I give it a B as well. We time it, but we really look at it. Your speed on the field, your speed on game tape, your speed on the track.
GPA.
A. If you look at UNLV in the last several years, 2 years ago we had the most academic All American in the nation.
Wow. Do you guys have a do you what would you say your the lowest GPA is that you will say this kid is not for us?
Of course, you want to be the basic. You say anything under a 2.2 because now if we really intrigued about you, we will try our best to work with your counselor as well. Our academic counselor will try to work with your counselor to get you to that standpoint where we need to get you at.
Now let me ask you this building off of that. Sorry to kind of go sideways here. With me, with what I do, I've found it almost to be a very substantial piece of information that how a player acts, how they, and it's not always perfect, but from the most of the time I'm pretty spot on. Their GPA is a direct reflection of how they act, how they do everything. Because there's this old saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I'm a
Yeah.
big believer in that. And from what I've seen, that makes sense to me. Kids with lower GPAs tend to be harder to get a hold of, harder to communicate with, harder to get the basic stuff done that they need to get done. So, from your perspective, seeing a bunch of different recruits come through the door, is that true? And can that be changed?
You're 100% spot on. We say in the same form, how you say how you do anything, how you do everything. We say you can be a champion. It's not a sometime thing. It's an all the time thing. So now we're very competitive in our building. So now, can you go compete in the classroom? Can you go compete with a regular student and get that A over them? Can you have the highest grade? So that does matter. So we like, because now, like you said, you got a lower grade. Now, are you trying? Are you just lazy? Or you just don't get it? So now, if you're not trying, that's a problem. If you're lazy, that's a problem. If you just don't get it, you just need help.
Hmm.
So we really try to look into that and try to make sure we, like I said, don't turn any stone, because this young player might just don't get this class. Yeah, he might need extra help. Or this player is just lazy. So now, if you're lazy in the classroom, we understand that, hey, if you mess up on the field, you're kind of lazy. You're lazy in the meeting room, you're lazy on the field as well.
Gotcha. All right, going back to the recruiting tiers. What about camps?
Camps, I give it an A, because now we see you up close and personal. That you actually, when you come on campus, you actually want to be there. You took your time to come there and things like that. So now we gotta take our time to really understand who you are. We already took our time to understand who you are.
What about DMs?
Because that's how I communicate. When I talk to an athlete, I might say, hey, I'm gonna DM you, I might text you, I might FaceTime you, I might call you. It depends on, if I'm already searching on my Twitter, I seen you post something, I might send you a quick DM instead of just picking up the phone and text. So Twitter DMs goes a long way.
And what about email?
Email, I give it an A, because we check it every day. People don't think we check emails every day. We check our emails every day and things like that. So we know that's a kind of a lost art, because people go through social media and things. But no, we check our emails every day. And and when the recruit send me an email and tell them about themselves, just like in a DM, I kind of get intrigued, because now you know a little bit about the electronic mail, so it kind of get intrigued by me. So,
I can't promise you might get a lot of emails from this. I'm sorry. But moving on from there, let's talk about where would you rate in the tier list national combines, talking about rivals, Under Armour, and 24/7.
now, if you're a big time athlete, we already know about you. We know about you if you're on the field and things like that. But so national combines, I give it a A, or I give it between an A or B. I give it a B plus, because now we know your verified measure. We know that you're 6'3.5" instead of we're guessing that you're 6'3.5". We know that you're gonna measure at whatever your wingspan is. Now we don't gotta just bring you on campus, try to get that measurement in a quick hurry and things like that. So no, those definitely matter, because now those are the cliff notes that we need as far as going in our database and going in your profile. Like, hey, this kid got a verified measure of 6'4", 250. This kid got a measure, or that he runs a 4.56, and it was verified in that time instead of him self-reported it.
Unofficial visits.
It's big time. We in this process now. We're trying to get the guys that we're very interested in on campus, because we try to make sure that they want to see campus. They want to do everything, that we do everything right by them as far as getting them on campus. So hopefully unofficial visit become official visit in that time span. So even for the younger players, come on campus as much as you can. You create those relationships, understanding those coaches, because now let's say you're a freshman, this player been coming to our program for 3 years, and he's kind of a good athlete. We already got a relationship with him, so that really starts. So unofficial visits are very big for us.
So what does that get on the tier list?
Oh, it gets an A.
All right.
Well, I give it an S. I give it an S,
You
because
giving
we
that one
we
an S?
yes, I give it an S, because we really try to get athletes to Vegas. We really try to get them in our building, because like I said earlier in our conversation, once we get in our building, you feel the genuine, you feel the Southern hospitality coming through our building. It's pretty different.
What about max gym numbers?
Max gym numbers, I give it a B. I don't want to go no lower than a B. I'll give it a B, because naturally we're gonna get you stronger. They're just a measurement part of it. That, hey, this guy can bench 275, but he's an offensive lineman, so now we got to get him a little bit strong. We understand that we got to get him a little bit stronger. We're not gonna deter you from recruiting you, because you're a good athlete or whatever. That we understand that, hey, we might have to work with him a little bit to get him stronger. So now, like I said, they're just another measurement piece. Hey, this person needs help in this department.
Last one, head coach reference.
Yes. because your references is all that you have in this world, even with your peers, even with your teammates. I went to an athlete that's already on our team, like, hey, this previous athlete we were recruiting came from your high school. Tell me about him. He's like, coach, he's pretty good. So even with your peers, it definitely does help. So I give it an S because, like I said, your recommendation through other people is really what matters in this world, no matter outside of football as well.
Gotcha. Well, that's it, man. I appreciate you so much, Coach Bure. That was an absolutely gem of a podcast. I think there's so much insane recruiting insight in there for parents and families to go execute on. But I appreciate you so much, my man, for hopping on today.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for us as well.
Yes, sir.